guest is medium and author Dominic Zenden. Hi Dominic.
Hello Paul.
Lovely to see you again, because we have met once upon a time.
Yes, and I still come back, don't I?
Yes. But Dominic, it's been said that you live mediumship as a way of life.
Yeah.
Can you explain what you mean?
Yeah, certainly. It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week occupation. I don't believe you turn it on, turn it off. I believe you are what you are, and mediumship is with me in my head all the time. And I wish I could switch it off sometimes. I wish I could just say, there it is, I'll leave it behind and I'll go and do something else. But it's there everywhere I look. So
and with mediumship comes spirituality. And do you try to live a moralistic life as well?
Definitely not.
No, purely mediumistic.
That's right. Yeah, no. I think that what it means to me is no drinking, no smoking. You know, the actual things that affect the way you are. And as a medium, you never have me. I never wear aftershave and things. It all affects your senses. So I believe that our 5 senses are actually dominated by our first sense, which is our psychic sense.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's left me a bit to reflect on.
Well, yes, but it's nice to open up that first sense, because that allows us to actually connect into the spirit world. Because remember, spirit is pure thought.
Yes, so we are thought,
and we are thought. And if we use our thoughts in that way, we can connect, because it's very difficult living a human life or mortal life to connect into the spirit world as a spiritual person.
Right. Now, you've written about your life, I believe.
Well,
up to now.
Yes, it hasn't finished quite yet, Paul, I don't think. But no, I've actually written Spirit Motivator, which is my first book, which is there in front of you. It's about, how I started from the age of 4 onwards, with my first experience of what it was like to connect to spirit from my granddad George, all the way through to my time at Sky TV, which is with Your Destiny, which was another part of my life. So it goes all the way through that, from everything I've done within the spirit world.
I mean, I must admit, you're mindful of information.
Do you know what it is, Paul?
No, I don't. But leading your life as a medium,
yes.
Now, I regard mediumship as going into spirituality as a
way
of life.
Yeah, very much so.
So do you live your life morally, spiritually as well?
Well, I'd like to think so, but maybe sometimes not. Within where we are and what I do is I tend to not drink, smoke, use artificial, flavourings and colourings and smells, because I think that affects your mediumship. And every sense you have should be able to enhance your ability as a medium to bring those messages through.
So you must have a heightened awareness if you're considering not using aftershave.
Well, I'll give you an example. I was on stage on Anglia on Friday night, and a gentleman come through that was chewing tobacco, and in my mouth I got the taste of chewing tobacco. And apparently this man had actually been down the mine, so he couldn't light cigarettes, so he chewed tobacco. Right. Simple as that. And it's little things like that gives the evidence to show people that there's something there. And then they can make their own mind up then, because I would never tell people what they should or shouldn't think, but I just give them the evidence and they can actually come to their own conclusions.
Now, you've written a fascinating book.
Thank you.
Which is called Spirit Motivator.
That's right, yes.
And which is about your life.
Yeah.
Your life so far.
Yeah, so far, yes. Yeah. From the age of 4, my first experience with my granddad George, who I never even knew was my granddad George at the time. He came through to me at a very early age and talked to me. And then from that onwards, all the experiences I've had through that, because always been fascinated from spirit to ghosts to aliens. You can imagine all the subjects out there. I've really tried to go into depth about and learn a lot about them. So
that's what I find fascinating about you, because you were my guest on the radio.
That's right, yes.
And I thought, my goodness, you're mindful of information.
Yeah, I seem to sort of retain all the information out there. So
to a point, you were bombarding me with science at one part.
Right, okay.
Gone into time slips and what have you.
Yeah, that's right.
But you're writing another book, aren't you?
Yes, I am. It's coming up very soon, and I think that's going to be even more interesting, because that's got a lot of my experiences at Ghost House, and my television experiences, because I've been to Berlin recently and worked with some famous people out in Berlin. And all the bits and pieces I do in between times, like some of the experiences we have within some of the spiritual stuff that happens around the house and within my life. So it's quite easy to write, because it's just writing from a personal experience point of view. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned television, which I'm quite interested in. Yeah. How did you break into television?
Purely chance. I think you have to be in the right place at the right time, and I don't think it makes you any different to anybody else that does this sort of thing. I just think that you have to take the opportunities if they're given to you. So someone says, would you like to come down here and do some television? I would say yes, please. And it's as simple as that. It's just making myself available to people that wanted to do it.
So tell me about some of these programs you've been featured in.
Okay, right. Well, I've been so many little ones that have been quite fun to do. Started off with Jane. I can't even say it now. Jane Goldman Investigates, and she actually started a program on psychometry, and I did that, and that was an hour-long special on Living TV, and that really got me noticed because people started to understand what I was about and what I did and how I did it. So other programs came rapidly after that, and so I think that what you do is you bring in a little bit of understanding to where you are, and people like who you are, and then they invite you back.
Right.
So I mean, that is all about finding a missing dog.
Yeah. So you found it?
No, no, not at all. If I'd have found it, I'd have been actually all famous by now. I should imagine. But no, it's sometimes that things don't work out the way that you think they're going to work out. But it's part of being a psychic. I can tell you some funny things about finding missing animals, Paul. There's some really funny stories, and in my new book, they're going to be mentioned of certain parrot called Cheech, who we found for its owner. But just as we come to get it, the cat got it.
Oh right. So goodbye parrot.
It was a polygon, but it was funny to actually have the story there. But the poor owner, I did feel sorry for her because she didn't really deserve to actually see the parrot and then have it taken away almost in the same breath.
But tell me about Most Haunted. That's quite a well-known, infamous, if you like, television series.
Well, very famous. I was lucky enough to be the resident medium at a place called Ghost House UK, and we used to take tours round, and we used to do 40 at a time and showed the ghosts of the rooms. Big Victorian Edwardian manor house in the middle of Worksop in England, and it was just like that. And they came there, and I just happened to be the resident medium. Oh, so I got involved on that. I sort of joined terms with John Felix and all the other people that come into that sort of series, and then they came to Suffolk and asked me to do Summer Leighton. Yeah, fantastic. So I did a bit like that, but there's some. I could tell you lots of funny stories, but not on air.
I don't think we've got time.
No, I know. It's quite fascinating though, isn't it? Because some of the things you see aren't always what is actually happening. So I always say to people, if you want to believe personal experience, you can't beat it. If you have that personal experience, then you know it's for real. You don't. It's not any conjecture. You've actually experienced it.
Oh, talking about reality.
Yes.
Now, what about UFOs?
What about them?
Are they real?
Well, do you know what? It depends on where you look at it from a real perspective, because a lot of the UFOs have been, American planes, spy planes covered up and used that UFO cover story. But there are a lot of situations that they cannot disprove that have actually happened.
But you haven't you seen some yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I've experienced a lot of things in that sort of side of the life, and since I was 4, I was experiencing bits and pieces around life on other planets and situations around that. So very aware. My own beliefs are very, very much that they're here, they're around us. There's lots of different aliens that come to this planet, so it's just through personal experience. But the most famous case that I actually remember is a guy called Charles Hall, and he worked with some tall whites in the Nevada desert.
Tall white
aliens. They're like 6'5" tall, and they have their children with them. They're the only race of aliens that we know bring their children. And it's just an incredible story. If anyone wants to look up Charles Hall on the internet, they'll actually find a fascinating story of real intrigue, and they can make their own minds up whether they feel it's actually something that's real or something that's been fictionalised.
So what have you actually experienced yourself?
Quite a lot of contact, quite a lot of UFO sightings, and quite a lot of understanding about where it's from. And remember, within our own thoughts, I believe thoughts are actualities, they're things that travel, and we can pick up thoughts from many, many different races across the universe. So experienced many, many times.
So you're what we call a naturally gifted born medium, I presume.
Do you know what? I don't know
what you call it.
I don't call it gifted. What I think it is, I think it's just a way of life. I think it's just who I am. It's not something that you turn it on and off on the stage. It's something you cope with. Right. I mean, some days I don't want to be it. So the communication can be really harsh when you try and do something totally different. So it's not always a fun thing, and sometimes it can be a curse.
Can it?
Yeah, definitely.
So I'll count my blessings then that I'm able to turn on and switch off and switch on, if you like.
I think that's fabulous. I think it's great if you can tune in and out of situations, because they leave you alone then, don't they?
Most often than not, but I shouldn't say that.
That's right.
But you do a form of energy healing. Now, I've heard of spiritual healing and what have you, but what is energy healing?
Right, okay. This all comes into colours and colour vibrations from people. Now, when you look at a person, they have certain vibrations around their body that the energy actually comes out in colours. So like for a sportsman or for a racehorse or for a dog or for a cat, you can actually see where the colours actually fade or go dull.
Well, you say they, but that's
Yes.
you, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes, yeah, totally. But you can actually see the colours around the person.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing is you're boosting the levels of energy around that area for them to actually heal quicker. Now, I don't believe that healing is a permanent thing. I think we can transfer energy across to a certain level, but it's like having to refill it every now and again to actually keep it there. But with sportsmen and women, it's really interesting because they have repetitive injuries. And you can look at a sportsman, a footballer or a cricketer, and you can see where they're most likely to get injured. So you can actually channel the energy to the areas where they most need it. Yeah. So it's a very complex thought thing, but it's not so complex when you look at it, because it makes sense to have the energy where you need it in your body. Yeah. So you think about it, like some sportsmen have injuries with their hamstrings, or they get very sort of tight muscles across their shoulders. Those sort of things you can pick up from by looking at their auras.
And tuning in.
And well, we call it tuning in. I don't need to tune in, I just need to look at the person, and I can see what the ailments they've got.
You can pick up mine in a bit then. If I've got a few ailments.
How long have we got, Paul? You're
not long enough.
Far too long to do all your ailments.
But your scientific mind, I mean, we've spoken about time slips once.
Yes,
now,
yeah.
You have to tell me again what a time slip is, what you mean by time slip.
Okay, it's when you actually find yourself in a different part of time.
Which you have?
Well, I've experienced, certain things of time loss, which is part of the UFO phenomenon, but also I've actually read about people that have actually experienced it firsthand, and actually interviewed people as well that have gone through the same sort of process. And there's some fascinating subjects again on the internet about people that have gone backwards in time and experienced what it's like to be in the 50s and they should be in the 70s, or see things on television that have actually happened not until 4 days later. It's a fascinating subject. So there is something to it, but it's actually finding how we can actually slip in and out, because there is a definite phenomena there that we do that. But then when you think of time, all time is man-made.
Now, have you actually slipped into the spirit world and come back?
Constantly.
Really?
It's thought. To be spiritual, we have to think spiritually. We can't think as a human. So our thought process is what takes us into spirit. So what we feel and what we think, we manifest. So we can go in and check our Keswick record, or we can work with our council of elders.
I like the way you say we can.
We can. We can all do it. It's just a case of being able to learn the right pathways to do it. It's like, making sure that you get the right thoughts in your head. And some people can't separate out their thoughts. It's too jumbled up in there. And I always find that thought is the main part of where we have to learn to separate.
Now, all these fascinating topics of yours, have you taught yourself? Have you had teachers over the years?
No, actually, I tried to be an instigator, not a copier. So I tried to learn all the things that I learned from my guides and from my theories, and look at my belief structures and challenge them. Of course, I've taught some interesting people, and if they have things that I don't know about, I'll go and find out. But on the whole, a lot of this has come naturally to me over the years, because I've been fascinated by the subject since I was very young. Yeah.
Well, you're years ahead of me then, Dominic. You've spoken to a lot more people than I have.
Well, yes.
But listen, thanks for coming along, and you've given me a bit of motivation now.
Yeah, you've got to get out there, Paul, and do it and enjoy it. The most important thing is to enjoy doing it. You're never going to enjoy it when you stood there before the show, but afterwards you are. So you've got to have the motivation to stand in front of people first, and people don't realise how much courage that takes.
And coach, to do this little show I'm doing.
Oh, this is fun. This is great. This is like two mates having a chat, Paul. So this is really nice.
Dominic, thanks ever so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, pleasure.
Okay.